Если у нас попытаются отнять нашу страну, нашу свободу, наши жизни.
Welcome everyone to this impromptu stream that we're having. I mean, I gotta say, I was hoping to stream today, but I was preparing not for this. Like, if you would see my notes for today, you would definitely know that I was planning today to talk about the deal that Donald Trump and President Zelensky would sign, and that this deal would be a great opportunity for Donald Trump to talk with his supporters and show them that he is doing so good for the United States, that he's supporting Ukraine. But boy, oh boy, I was not ready for what we got. Now, if you do not know what has happened, I have a couple of videos that I can show you. Let's start with this one, because it's easier to to show you once rather than trying to explain you 10 times. So President Zelensky met Donald Trump, some people from Republican Party, I would guess it is from Republican Party, and they met basically in the Oval Office, and things kind of went very, very south. Very, very south. So also, if you will feel certain emotions, don't wonder. We're gonna all feel them by the end of this. All right, let's start with this video over here.
Second question.
My second question for President Zelensky.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, you have problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting
I don't
the
have
dignity of this
such.
office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something
maybe
like this.
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for.
So things like with this starting, you kind of already see like, why are they asking President Zelensky of the suit? Like, he's the president of the warring country, the war-torn country. He came here to sign economic agreements, to sell a lot of the resources, make America richer, give a lot of things to the United States. Even if you follow the logic of Donald Trump, then at least pay for the things that America has already provided. And and then there is like some third-grade representative talking to a head of state in their meeting and trying to belittle him for not wearing a fucking suit. Who gives a shit about the suit? No one cares about the suit except for that guy, because it's a talking point. You know, it's just a talking point to get under skin of Zelensky. But things went down pretty fast as well since then. And here is another video. So at some point, and we're gonna get to Donald Trump speaking with President Zelensky as well, but at some point also J.D. Vance jumped on the conversation, and he had words to say.
What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied it, our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes.
What makes America
So already there were like more and more questions about like what is actually Zelensky is doing and what is happening and so on, and things got only more and more tense, because then we got basically into full-blown shouting matches.
But you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not
you
have
gotta-
war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's exactly what you're
Remember
doing.
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
Very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
But you have not.
So basically, there was a gang approach to trying to get under the skin of Zelensky with everything that they can to try to shame him for what he does. There is plenty of more sound bites. There's plenty of sound bites of Trump talking that the only reason that President Zelensky is now that it's thanks to the United States, and that President Zelensky has been ungrateful, which is like, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, we can go step by step and take every single of these statements and explain that it's not true, but firstly, there's going to be 1,000 other channels that are going to be doing this. And secondly, we already know that, right? If you're watching me here, you know that President Zelensky has been one of the most grateful leaders in the world. Like, he has been going around just saying things, basically kissing everyone's feet, growling and asking for all the help they can provide. And instead, like, what they got is they basically put a lot of pressure on Zelensky, put all of the grievances, like, for example, Vance was throwing at Zelensky that he campaigned for Joe Biden, which Zelensky didn't. He also met with Donald Trump and his team. So, no, that was not what was happening. Anyway, we're not going to be taking all of these things. Those are just false. The problem, what was happening, is a setup that they came out and just started throwing all of these false facts. And Zelensky tried to explain that, no, it's not. Like, you know, it wasn't like that we were not fighting since that there was no war in the Trump's terms, that the war was already started, that Putin already invaded, that no agreement with Putin can be really respected. Long story short, after this very emotional discussion, this was kind of the outcome. So the press conference or any kind of together meetings, I guess, I don't know exactly what specifically, was cancelled. Like interactions, at least certain interactions, has definitely been cancelled with President Zelensky. And Donald Trump's media team has already published a statement basically stating that Zelensky is so cocky and such an asshole to us that we feel how do you say, we feel oh my god, I forgot the word, sorry, the non-English speaker problem, that just no common word rushes out, that we feel that we got disrespected, the United States, so they feel disrespected. Therefore, we will be looking to pull out any support from to Ukraine from the United States, and essentially we're gonna let Zelensky and Ukraine bleed until he comes crawling back and kissing my feet and beg for mercy. That is the statement that Trump's team has made, and this means only one thing. Well, definitely there's going to be more diplomatic efforts. It's very, very clear that Trump already very much thought of Ukraine as nothing more than a, well, as in a word of a classical Trump, shithole country. And he hated Zelensky both for personal vendetta sake, like with the dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and so on, but also for the fact that he's opposing Putin, the actual dictator, and so on. So all things considered, I was expecting something like this to happen. The people that have been following this channel, they already know. And I explained that I do feel that Trump thinks that Ukraine is just a subject, that Ukraine is just a country that can be influenced, like a puppet state, that he thinks that Ukraine is so dependent on the United States, that it's so dependent on whatever Donald Trump does, that the only kind of response that he's ready to receive from Ukraine is, yes, master, thank you, master, may I have more, master, and then lick his feet, like Elon that in that video that was published sometime, or like Trump did to Elon in that video that was published some time ago, the AI generated video. And so that was the expectations. But Zelensky is not that. Like, this is where the disconnect between Trump's worldview and basically every reasonable person's worldview is that President Zelensky is a hero. He is probably the only true leader of Europe. There's a lot of people in Europe that are reasonable, that are strong, that could be leaders, but the problem is they don't lead. They always find like obstacles, and then they try to get around these obstacles and so on, and they always fail at getting around these obstacles. So Macron tried to do a lot of initiatives in Europe, but he always failed. He always was failing at leading. And the only leader, the true leader in Europe, is President Zelensky. Everyone listens to him. He has huge respect in Europe and actually all across the world. And more importantly, I explained that Ukraine has found their agency. Ukraine is understood themselves what kind of country they are. They understood themselves that they are the country of warriors, brave, incredible, and strong. There is a lot of self-respect in Zelensky, respect for his country, respect for his people. And it doesn't matter like that what Trump is being saying is like that Trump is from the country that potentially is stronger than Ukraine, that potentially can influence how Ukrainians will fight, and it's going to maybe cost more blood for Ukrainians. Zelensky and Ukraine didn't bow to Putin when he came and tried to subjugate them. So there is absolutely zero chance that they would do that to Trump. And if anything, that was Trump that was absolutely disrespectful by thinking that one of the greatest people in history in our modern times, one of the greatest, if not the greatest leader of Europe in our current time, the person of the country that has the biggest strength and capabilities in Europe, period, in a military sense, in a strength sense, and a country that is up high in their view of self-actualization will suddenly start to act like he's subjugated by the stronger player. Ukraine in 2025, this is what I said like when Trump just won the election, that Ukraine in 2025 is not the same Ukraine that it was during the first Trump's term. That even Europe in 2025 is not the same as Trump's term, despite the fact that there are people that are still going to Trump and digging up his butt just to get some preferences from themselves in our European politicians. And I hope that after this exchange, they will find some courage to stand up to him. Because we talked about the potentially United States being in some kind of neutral state. Now, if they will actively pull support for Ukraine, and I'm expecting that this will go much further because as we know how with the people with small egos, like very, very insecure people act, that when things just don't go their way and when Zelensky will not come crawling back to Trump and licking his boots and asking for mercy, that it's going to just make Trump more and more pissed. So we will just, yeah. It's insane. Like, the more I read this, the more insane it gets. There is a lot of things that this might bring, and we're going to talk about this. But first, I would like to open the chat and see what you guys think. Like, how are you feeling about this? Tell me about that right now, because we are right now seeing the, I don't want to say the impossible because that's what was expected, but let's say the idiotic happen. Like, if there are actions that certain world leaders could make, then arguing with Zelensky is probably one of the, if not the most idiotic action that a person can make on camera. It is stupid. It is so freaking dumb. Yeah, I know. Like, if you're American, I feel how you feel. Like, I understand. Yeah, so for people that are writing that potentially Ukraine is done, we explicitly described this already plenty of times. The role that United States have played has been big. Don't get me wrong, it has been big. But United States have helped Ukraine during the probably some of the crucial times. By this point, United States have contributed to Ukraine, especially the last year, mostly in weapon systems, in some weapon systems like Patriot, for example, though actually most of those Patriots were just the approval of the United States. They were not provided by the United States. And for example, no F-16s have been provided by the United States. The most of the things that the United States have been providing, which is very important still, is the service for the vehicles United States made and ammunition. Those have been the biggest deliveries. And some of that ammunition, some of those vehicles are critical, but a lot of the things have been already delivered. Now, we should expect from now on that potentially US will go fully hostile and Trump will go absolutely small ego man-child and he will completely cut off any help to Ukraine. This will be problematic. If we put in percentage-wise, Ukrainians have been putting percentages-wise, then the contributions that United States are doing to Ukrainian defense right now is about 20%. 20% is a lot. Like, why Zelensky was ready to negotiate with Trump, even if we saw that Trump was before, like, quite hostile right away to Zelensky, we're calling him a dictator, all of that, is because 20% is a lot, right? Lack of US help means that this war will go on for longer, that there will be more sacrifices from the Ukrainians, that there will be more demand on the Europeans and more demand on the Ukrainian production. And it will basically make life in Ukraine a lot tougher because up to right now, Ukraine was able to sustain their operations as like, we continue living as a normal-ish country. And then there is a big part of our country, like about 40%, that is participating in the war. But 60% of the country of Ukraine is still have been kind of like, like 50-50. Most likely, with US pulling out, Ukraine will be pretty much forced to go into full-blown, like, absolute total mobilization. Which is, to be honest, a lot of the military analysts were asking themselves why Ukraine hasn't gone. But the main point is that US support, while critical, while important, while it requires a lot more effort for Ukrainians, but it is substitutable. And I want that to be underscored. President Trump has no idea how little leverage he actually has over Zelensky. Or I should say had no idea, because they're fucking burning bridges faster than I can say burn bridges. And we will be following the media, what media says, and I'll be receiving some links and so on, but it is insane. What's most important is what you're going to see, and what I'm already having, like on my mobile phone, I'm already getting like a lot of notifications, is that Ukrainian society is completely unified. There has been like a huge rally around the flag effect. And Zelensky already, since he talked with Trump beforehand when he called him a dictator, got a bit of popularity. And now everyone is saying like, what the fuck was that? All right, let's read some super chats because you've been sending a lot of the super chats. Guys, if you want to send money because you're raging, I appreciate the super chats, but if you're here like for the first time or you haven't been here in a while, the moderators will put a link to the donations to the Ukrainian armed forces. I am not that dependent on the money. Like, don't get me wrong, this is my main job, and I always like when I get some extra bucks, but that is not important. Like, I don't really matter. Ukraine matters, and Ukraine needs help more than I do. So please, instead of donating in super chats or something else, first and foremost, consider going on the link to the fundraiser campaign and participate in a fundraiser campaign. I will somehow survive. But if you have more disposable income, then obviously it is welcome. This is my living right over here. But first and foremost, please support Ukraine. All right, let's read some super chats because there are some. Oh my God, so many. You are so many. Let's see. Okay, so the first one is from D period. The Russians must have the golden shower video. Nothing else can explain this. Europe should move its forces into Ukraine immediately to help protect it and the continent. I think it's a lot more. I think it might go a lot deeper, D, because remember the first video that we started, we showed where there was like this random Republican that just decided to assault Zelensky for not having a suit, right? You know? Like the guy of the warring nation, and the guy is just like, was like, why are you not wearing a suit? Like, what up? What the fuck are you? It's like the person of the warring nation that is basically kicking the shit out of Russians. Insane, absolutely insanity. So I think it goes kind of a little bit beyond the just the golden shower and Trump. I think beyond it goes like well into the fact that Russian propaganda is being so accepted within the pro-Trump MAGA community. Some people have said like that about 50% of MAGA is fully infected with the Russian propaganda. I don't know. Maybe the fact of the matter is that there was like a guy that tried to diss on Zelensky, on the world leader of one of the most important nations of the world, and tried to belabor him for not wearing a fucking suit. What a joke. H. Sarit, as a Ukrainian, I'm so proud of Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump Vance lost so much face with this meeting. Slava Ukraini. Graham Slava, my friend. And H. Sarit here absolutely confirms this. And thank you so much for 14 Canadian bucks. You see, like a Canadian, Ukrainian, a Ukrainian, Canadian, or Canadian, Ukrainian. You know, it's the other way around. It's the Ukrainian Canadian because he lives in Canada. You see, he's stating that there is a lot of rally around the flag effect. So super good, really important. Matt Hemming, thank you so much for $2 Canadian. Zelensky showed such restraint in that buffoon. Exactly, like, because as you watch these videos, you can see just how he's just trying to explain the facts. Like, he's like, and Zelensky, like, he's a lot of things, but he's not a bad communicator, right? You can say, oh, maybe Zelensky came out a bit hostile. No, he didn't. Like, have you seen Zelensky talk? He's one of the best communicators there is on the political stage. Very, very good communicator. Very, very tolerant to bullshit. Like every time I watched Zelensky interview, I was like rolling my eyes and just how is he able to still push forward when there is like so much BS is being put towards him. So no, Zelensky was very respectful, very, very thankful and so on. It was just a full-blown setup. It was just a full-blown setup, just a hostile environment where they didn't want to have anything really there. Like they just wanted, like, you know, to poke and prod. And as I said, like they were just expecting Zelensky to just like, you know, okay, and just surrender his position and start like essentially growling on the front. Yes, yes, Mr. President, laugh at the stupid Trump's jokes. You know the type. You know, when you watch like some kind of movies and so on, and there is like someone that is like really powerful and like powerful and evil, and then everyone is expected to basically do not nothing to them. It's like to not even like say a word of that contradicts them. Like absolute nonsense, garbage. Mount Hemming, thanks so much for 2 more Canadian bucks. Trump and Vance look so weak and whiny and small. That is the most important thing, actually. That is the most important thing. Like United States, incredible country, huge country, benefited immensely from the deals that were made during the war. Like we all know here that a lot of profit have been made in US. Majority of the stuff that was sent to Ukraine didn't get the money that is just expected. It's like, even if you think like it was 300 billion, it wasn't 300 billion, it was a lot less. But even if you consider there was 300 billion, then if you take that 350 billion, which it wasn't, that majority, the absolute majority of it was put back into the US economy. The vehicles and ammunition and armor that was old and actually would need to be paid for to get disposed of was shipped to Ukraine, and US just ordered new and shiny equipment that would be able to fight the Russians. Yes, it was 69 billion. Thank you so much, David Trace. 69 billion, not 350, 69 billion. Majority of those 69 billions went into the US companies all across the United States, invested to produce stuff. It got jobs, it got created economic boost for United States. US made a shitloads of money. Zelensky came to US to sign a deal, to sign off a lot of like Ukrainian resources to give money to United States. It was an economic coercion to get United States to continue supporting Ukraine. Like basically Zelensky says, I brought you money. Like it's like the stupidity of that matter, that like Zelensky comes to United States and says, I give you money, take money. Just continue doing what you're doing, continue investing into United States. It's like, no, it's like man-child attitude, petty little man-child attitude, absolute garbage. Like it makes United States in this whole administration look like absolute fucking amateurs. Russell Whiskey, thank you so much for being a member for 21 months. Keith Hansen, thank you so much for being a member for 5. Thank you so much for giving 5 Ukraine members memberships. And Russell is saying Zelensky is the only leader in that room. True. Win, thank you so much for £2. Appreciate it. Wales stands with Ukraine. Thank you, brother. Misdemeanor, thank you so much for 20 bucks. The set of a-holes in that room, although large, did not include Zelensky. True. Absolutely. Oh my God. Sorry, my YouTube. Yeah, there we go. Base Pressoir. Sorry if I mispronounce your last name or first name as well. Thank you so much for 50 Swedish kronas. Should one expect Trump and co to minimize this event in 1 week, just like when he called Zelensky a dictator and retracted the week later? You know, I would hope for, but like he's such a man-child that this is for me. You know what? For me, this is just like so embarrassing. Every time he retracts stuff, because he already flip-flopped on tariffs. He flip-flopped on other things. He had the great opportunity to basically show his base, show the United States as like, hey, I may be a dick to Zelensky, but it was part of the 5D negotiations chess. Like, because Zelensky came in and signed the deal, and they're giving away my Ukrainian resources to us, to United States. So they're gonna pay for these 350 billion, which there was never 350 billion. They're gonna pay for these billions that we sent to them with their resources. I am such a big winner. I am the deal maker, the best one. Instead, he just comes out like a fucking man-child. Like the guy is absolute nut job. Like. It's ludicrous that even everyone is even considering that he can be like trying to do something serious. No, he's full of shit. Can he minimize in a week? Yes, he can. But like for me, it will show even more incompetence than it already does. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of European leaders that will come crawling to Trump just to like, oh, please, can the relationship with Zelensky, don't pull out of NATO, fucking crybabies, instead of investing in our own defenses with full seriousness. Christy, welcome to the Brother in Arms, appreciate it. When Zelensky is to Ukraine what Churchill was to the UK in World War II. True. I see we got a lot more people, guys, that are sending, I'm reading the super chats, but please, rather than super chats, we'll try to talk with chat. Just if you have some disposable income, my moderators are constantly posting the link to Donor Box, and I'm actually just going to pin the link to Donor Box. This is the fundraiser that we're doing to Ukraine. And can you please instead, first and foremost, send your money to support Ukraine? That is what matters the most right now. I will be fine. Thank you so much for super chats. I will try to read as many questions as I can also without the super chats. Just support Ukraine. They need it the most now. Telsion, thank you so much for 10 euros. All respect to Zelensky, Slava Ukraina. Ocean is not as big as Trump with smooth leather things. Yeah. Like he was also making that argument in his statement, saying is like, oh, you know, we have this big beautiful ocean, and like not when he was talking about this like couple of days ago. No, he said it to Zelensky's face. It's like, you know, like for us, it's not as threatening because we have this big ocean. And Zelensky is like, yeah, it's not as big, Mr. President. And Trump is like, you're being very disrespectful. Fuck you. It's like, you cannot take reality. Like, denying reality is like the most man-child thing that one can do. Just like absolutely denying. It's so insane. William Parrish, thank you so much for $5. As an American and grandson of Ukrainian immigrants, I am ashamed to be an American. Thank God my grandparents passed away so they don't have to see this. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Well, the only thing I can say for Americans is I really hope that in 2 years you will get a Congress turnover. Otherwise, you are really fucked. Because as from what I've heard, they already are investigating the possibility for a third Trump's term. So... Send love, thank you so much for 2 francs. Well, I guess maybe Europe has to use those 300 billion. True. Greg Cuts, shameful for Trump and Vance. Let's hope Europe steps up. Keep up the good work. Much love from the UK. True, Greg. It's gonna be interesting discussion, but that was such a big setup. But I'm pretty sure, like in Europe, Zelensky is a hero. Let's be very clear. Like for Europeans, for a lot of the European leaders, they can only watch this one way because Zelensky is a hero, wartime hero. We in Europe remember how bad the war is. It's just we got so complacent and we thought totally believed that there will be no more wars in Europe because of the Kraut, their parrot actually released the nice video recently about the German Ostpolitik, the Eastern policy of Germany and how it helped unify Europe and how successful it was. And basically that was in a large sense why that successful politic was why there was a lot of building of this complacency to any kind of war. But I think we already are changing our narratives in Europe. I just hope that this will be additional push towards that. Watch the Kraut's video. Kraut is a good friend of mine. It's like we talked with him, super nice guy, incredible guy. Christopher Sinclair, make a real donation to Ukraine. Thank you. Appreciate it, Christopher. Yes. Please. We will. I will be sending like some additional money to Ukrainians. I will actually. Okay, no, I cannot tell you guys before I do something. I cannot tell you, but there will be news about me in Ukraine in the future, very soon. Fenrir, thank you so much for $5. If blue states like California and New York secede from United States, those states will 100% back support Ukraine. Yeah, but this is a dream scenario, Fenrir. There is no possibility for states to secede from the Union. There is no clause for that. The same is actually in European Union. Like European Union cannot just kick out a state if they don't want to go. For example, there is no clause that allows us in Europe to kick out Hungary. Thankfully, we have a clause that allows us to suspend their voting rights, but we'll see. Can Ukraine pull out of mineral deal or is too late? The deal was not signed. The deal was not ratified. There is no deal yet. Send love. Thank you so much for 12 francs. Europe have to smell the coffee. Wake up and send the 300 billions from Russia. I will donate to donor box to... Don't worry. Trump is right on one thing. Europe has to wake up. True. I mean, like, that's my biggest problem, you know? It's like, because Trump has some good ideas that I support. Like, I supported some of the Trump's ideas even during his first term. And I got a lot of the rotten tomatoes thrown at me. Because I support good ideas. Right, I support like when he says like we shouldn't be making deals with Iran, we shouldn't be making nuclear deals. I was like, yeah, fuck Iran, like because Iran doesn't want to anything good for us. And the same was like, well, do we want to deal with Russia? I was like, fuck no, we don't want to deal with Russia. It's like the only thing we want is safe Europe. And the only way to be a safe Europe, we need to show the dictators that are even considering for one iota of the second that he can just consider threatening Europe and consider stating that like European states are like not there to be. Is like at that moment, we should already have been putting him in his place. But we haven't. And I'm hoping that it's going to go further. Key Hansen, thank you so much for being a member for 19 months. Appreciate it, my brother. Jew Big Boss, thank you so much for €2. I gave 50. I hope it will help. Yes, yes, it does. Believe me, like the big point of our fundraiser that we're doing and why it's helping is we're cutting all of the red tape. Like the guys that we're working and they're gathering this fundraiser, they're working directly. There is like little to no red tape. They're like the most grassroots organization. They're just buying the trucks from the people across Europe that are ready to sell the trucks. They're then getting the trucks to Ukraine, literally to their workshop, armoring them up, painting, and then literally delivering them to the armed forces into their hands of the respective units. It's all on video, it's all available. It's like there is no major like administrative body, no major advertisements like, you know, for Red Cross or anything. It's like the most like bang for buck that you're gonna get. Like you're gonna get stuff directly to the Ukrainian armed forces. So thank you so much for anyone that is supporting the fundraiser. Rope access work. Thank you so much to 100 Swedish krona. Zelensky is a Churchill of all time. True. Agree. Unforgiven. Thank you so much for 30. I don't even know what this currency is. Is it Israeli currency or Thai? I'm not sure. Let me Google this. I don't wanna be wrong. Shekel. Yeah, so it's Israeli. So thank you so much for 30 shekel. This BS behavior from the United States sealing the annexation of Taiwan by China and forcing all of the Western nations relying on Chinese TSMC chips. Don't worry, I will also donate to the links. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Yes. I mean, like, look, I had a map somewhere. Give me a second. Like, just, I know I will not talk. I know that, like, the good streamers are supposed to talk just whatever they're doing. But I have a picture. I have a picture. Because I've talked on this channel a little bit about the fact that United States is a lot less secure and a lot less powerful than it thinks. This one. Largest trading partner by country. On the top there, you see United States. That was the US hegemony. That is the world that Donald Trump grew up with. That is what defines the world of how Donald Trump sees it. You see that one, like the US hegemony. That is the US empire. Then 2024. This is the current reality of economics. This is the biggest trading partner. So what Donald Trump is doing basically by his actions is you see Europe, that big blue blob in the middle, he's basically coloring it red. So what we need to understand is what Donald Trump is doing is not only stupid, it's just idiotic. He is literally ruining the last things there are that holds US still together. So he thinks that if we retract all of these blue things back to United States, it's going to make US stronger. It's going to make US to look more like on the first slide. But this one, why the Spain is red? Because the biggest trading partner of Spain is China. The color represents red is the biggest trading partner, China. Blue is the biggest trading partner of is United States. The reality is China is taking over. And by pushing European Union, Europe, where did you get this map? Online. There is some sources. There we go. There's at the bottom. Sources. US Census Customs of China. So, there we go. Thank you so much for donations. Thank you so much, Camilla Bond. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Literally, the fundraiser is the most important because that's going to help Ukrainians a lot. So my point is, I'm a big proponent. I love the United States. I love democracy. I love our partnership. But this does not make America great, to put it very simply. Nathaniel Campbell, thank you so much for $4. Not only was the 2024 elections outcome the fault of the people who voted for Trump, it's more so the fault of the people who didn't vote. True. I do attribute a lot of fault to Democrats for not being able to properly communicate with people. I cannot, like, look, the people that a country has is the people that country has. I don't subscribe to blaming the voter. It's like a salesman trying to say that the customers are wrong. Well, I always like to address critique to the salesman. I always like to critique like, well, have you considered selling something else? Have you considered changing and alternating your message? And I do feel there is a lot of fault with the Democrats because they did a lot of good. Like the economics of Joe Biden were great, but they just didn't resonate with the things that were relevant for the regular Joes within how do you say, within the United States. Like, I really want to agree with you that it was like only the people that just didn't came to vote, but it was also one of the biggest turnover elections in general. I blame the system. Like the most I blame is the system, because what was happening, like, think about this way. So we had German elections, right? German elections. And this is why I say it. So we had German elections, right, in Europe. So we have, why is this white? We have German elections. So we have, here we have, what is it called? This is the CDU-CFU. This is the weird distribution, by the way. So this is the first winning party. This is the center-right. Then this one is the blue one, is the far-right fascists. Like, they are basically Nazis. They want to get out of Europe. They want to dissolve NATO. They want to surrender to Russia. Fucktards. Then the red one is the Social Democrats. These are the center-lefts. So in this election, you can see that there is votes that have been distributed. Now imagine if the center-right and the fucking fascists would be just one party. If they would be united in one party and there would be no option to break it, well, then suddenly you get the American system. You get a system in which people from the center have to share the space with the people, with the fascists. And then you get really screwed, because like, if the fascists are really popular and they're dominating even the centrists and so on, then there is no way for the centrists to unite, for example, with the center left, with Democrats that are having exactly the same issue. So that's the thing. Like, I blame the system for the most part, not that much the electors. I think the system just is utterly fucked. First and foremost. Mulber Smile, thank you so much for $10. US veteran, absolutely see who is risking world war. It isn't President Zelensky. Trump is foreign relationship wrecking ball. True, because the biggest thing that we need to understand that what is happening right now with Russia, what is it doing to Ukraine is basically Russia said, we will challenge the existing world order. To what existing world order said, no, you can't. And then they did nothing. And then Russia said, well, if the world order is doing nothing, then we're going to challenge it more. And then then Russia invaded Ukraine. And then the world order is like, oh shit, we better send the helmets to Ukraine. And Ukraine is like, are you idiots? We're having full-scale invasion. Yeah, but we're going to send you helmets because it's going to be escalation otherwise. And then Russia, step by step, dismantled every single check and balance of the world order that we had. The world order that provided us with peace, prosperity, and allowed us Europeans to be lazy ass bastards and do jack shit, to be lazy asses, because we had peace. Now we are in a new reality, and Russia is looking at what's happening, and they're saying, okay, it seemed for a second there with Joe Biden that the world order is sort of trying to reassess themselves. It wasn't, but it seemed for a second there. So Russia said like, okay, we cannot do it alone. We need guys. We need guys on our side that would benefit from dismantling this order. So they reached out to China, they reached out to Iran, they reached out to North Korea and says, you want to fuck things up? And they said like, yeah, let's do it. So now Russia said, well, we couldn't do it on our own, but we got some buddies, and these buddies are like, can we do it? You know, and they're like, you know, like little rascals. Like Russia is kind of pushing us, and they are like, you know, like the gang members, the chicken shits of the gang members that are able to be strong only while their kind of like leader, the person in charge, are strong. And this person in charge is saying is like, no, no, no. What the West has built up here, this whole police system, it's all corrupt to the bone. It's useless. It's weak. So now we're basically showing that, yes, indeed, we are. We are useless and weak. We cannot even get our shit together. We have an idiot for a president of the biggest country, the most strongest world country, the most nuclear country, and he's acting irresponsibly. He's not acting how that system that we're supposed to be protecting works. He wants to go back to the age of the fucking empires. And Russia is basically saying, the guys, you see, this Western world, this Western system, absolute garbage, absolute nonsense. It doesn't work. So when people are saying, it's like, Georgie, but you're saying that Russia will be a threat for Europe and threat for democracy in the coming years, but Russia is barely advancing in Ukraine. How they can do it? And my answer has always been the same. Because when Russia is going to come for Europe, when they're going to come for your ass, they're not going to be this Russia that comes in right now in Ukraine that got themselves into this mess, and because of Ukrainian bravery are able to slow them down. But no, after it recoups their strength, they mobilize their army in millions, they're gonna get together with their buddies, they're gonna attack on all fronts, attack in China, get Taiwan, attack in Middle East, attack in other parts of Europe, maybe Turkey is gonna get some action in there, who fucking knows? The point is that when Russia comes back, it's not going to be just Russia. It's going to be tight cooperation of the biggest economic superpowers supported by China. China is probably not going to be bothering except for Taiwan. But the point is they're going to build a strong alliance to completely dismantle whatever world order we're having, whatever way of life we're having. Our whole fucking world is about to change if we don't do something about it. So the person with the Donald Trump to not supporting the easiest solution to stop this shit from happening, to support Ukraine, has just been acting like a man-child baby and crying out that Zelensky is not wearing suit and being very rude to him. Insane. Okay. Next question. Sven AB, thank you so much for 300 Swedish kroners. Appreciate it, my friend. George, thank you so much for £2. The stupid McDonald's theory make European complacent. Yeah, McDonald's theory has been proven wrong so long ago. You know, I watched some video and I heard this somewhere. Sorry, I cannot remember who was the creator. And basically he said that that he stopped believing the McDonald's theory when Russia invaded Crimea and took over Crimea because there was McDonald's in Crimea. And they're like, okay, well, that's it. Captain Copenhagen, so hi, okay, yeah, so I donated to, thank you so much for donations, Captain Copenhagen. Sorry, I'm trying to translate it live. Yes, I also hope that Trump will go away, but I wouldn't expect it. Like, we will need to deal with this toddler for a while still. Jesus Christ. Neil Hillen, thank you so much for £5. Appreciate it. James Koo, welcome to Brother in Arms, brother. Wither Nix, thank you so much for €5. Tushar, thank you so much for 200. I believe it's rupees. Correct me if I'm wrong. Slav Ukraine, my friend. Zelensky is a hero and Trump is lowlife. Trust me, this is a blessing in disguise. Europe gave Ukraine a free hand. Ukraine is capable. We'll take back what's Ukraine's. True, Tushar. Like, the whole thing is that Europe can do this. Like, the whole point is that they can do this. Kremlin Georgescu writes me from Romania. Kremlin Georgescu, Aren't you supposed to be under arrest? Why are you writing me for your jail cell? Jokes, of course. Thank you so much for 10 leva. Or Leo? I don't know how to pronounce it. Or leva was in Bulgaria. Doesn't matter. So thank you so much for 10 Romanian monies. Ukraine needs to go 100% with Europe support. True, absolutely. I think in Europe we need to go with 100% Europe support and take that mineral deal off for us. Get rich. Darth Revan, thank you so much for €5. USA sind, oh my god, it's in German, sorry. USA sind Verräter geworden unter Hitler Trump. Okay, so you have translated, sorry. USA has become traitors under Hitler Trump. Yeah, I don't, like, I cannot call him Hitler because he's so fucking dumb. Like, you know, Hitler had a plan. Bicycle Sunday, thank you so much. Support from Finland. I will not read in Finnish, but thank you so much. CC up and more stream. True. Johan A. Thank you so much for 100 Norwegian kronos. Europe needs to realign towards common defense without the United States, and part of that should be to escalate from support of Ukraine to activate participation in defense of Ukraine. Yes, the only moral thing that we should have done when Russia invaded Ukraine was to send troops into Ukraine. That's it, period. Should have been done from day one. I hope by this point there is no more argument that Putin will nuke anyone, right? We kind of over it because this argument has been made like 700 million times. Basically, every time that there is like new weapon system that will go to Ukraine, Russia says, we're going to nuke you, and then they don't nuke us. Unless you've been nuked. Tell me if you did. Send money to Ukrainian armed forces, donations, and then write me you did and say to me that you have been nuked by Putin. Bill Christian, thank you so much for $10. That whole press conference was between Varya Zelensky and some little bit butthurt morons, Vance and Trump. Yes, indeed. Just a thought, thank you so much for ZAR. I don't even know what ZAR is. ZAR. I need to know my currencies. The South Africa Rand. Thank you so much for 17 rands. Slava Ukraini. Slava, my friend. Rabezel, thanks so much for $55, I guess, Australian. I would guess it's $8. So every single day, this shit gets real awkward for Australia. Yeah, of course, Australian. Okay. Yeah, like, seriously, if you're Australia, be worried. Be really fucking worried. Taiwa55, thank you so much for $10. Thank you. Okay. Enough with the super chats. Guys, please, 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 if you have disposable income, send it over to the donations. I will try to answer the questions from the live chat rather than super chats. I appreciate the super chats though, but please, 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 first and foremost, donate to the Ukrainian armed forces. Damiana Krotzi, sending drones and batteries and stuff to Ukraine. Appreciate it, my friends, and thank you so much for €50. We will do more of that. We will send trucks, we will send drones, we will send everything. When I say Europe needs to step up, that means also us here and myself included. And I will be stepping up quite soon, hopefully. All right. If you want to write a question, guys, I'm going to read from the chat. Just write Ukraine matters, and then it's going to get highlighted for me, and then I can answer your questions. MiG-21, can or should Germany build nukes for deterrence? Yes, like literally every state needs to build nukes, but I don't expect it will be passed in Germany. Like in Germany, fucking 9% of people voted for the left. The left, the most deluded party. They're like, oh my God, you know, these wars so bad. What people needs to do is to just stop firing. How hard it is. Like absolutely deluded people that live like in parallel reality. The parallelist of realities that there even exist. Like it's like, oh, people just need to stop firing. And it's like, okay, 9% of Germany voted for them. It's like, so you expect me to believe that suddenly Germany turns around and says like, okay, let's make nukes. You're still protesting the nuclear power plants, the peaceful atom. So no, I'm more expecting that nukes should be built by the Nordics, like maybe Sweden together with Norway and Denmark and Finland as well, to provide this northeastern barrier and deterrence against Russia. I think that would be the correct way to go. But ideally, every state should have nukes. Dieter, is there a way for Europeans to unite and apply political pressure directly to EU without relying on local representatives, some organizations, movements? No. Europe is all about the local stuff. Europe is not a centralized state. We don't have a federal government, right? We don't have something like Donald Trump or centralized governments. Like we have European representatives like Ursula von der Leyen, Kaja Kallas, and so on that represent the European Union structures. But European Union is basically the anti-centralized state. It can never be. We don't have the direct federative power. We're not a federation. We have only representation from the local governments. So the way to get to your government is to talk specifically with your local representative so that they get the message to our local governments, our country governments. And then the country governments can influence what the European Union as a whole will do. Les, could we build army online in support of Ukraine? We should. Madendura, which European leader do you think can step up and coordinate support properly? Alexander Stubb. Have you heard Alexander Stubb? Oh my God, I hope I can find it. I want us all to listen to Alexander Stubb in his statements. Alexander Stubb. Kyiv. Okay, so there was this. I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer a question, but this is very important because
Prime Minister
this
of
is like
Canada,
what
Justin
leaders
Trudeau,
could be good for
Prime
Europe.
Minister.
So let's try to find Alexander Stubb. So there was this like during the third anniversary of the full-scale Russian invasion. Majority of the leaders that support Ukraine came to Ukraine, and they were pretty incredible in their statements. Alexander Stubb is the Prime Minister of Finland. So I'm trying to find if his statements are somewhere. It's a whole hour interview, so there is like it's uncut. Maybe someone put timestamps? No timestamps. Okay. Oh, there we go. Let's see if this is and I will just kind of show you the example of what he says, just so you understand where Alexander Stubb stands.
Of what Europe has supported. So yes, sure. Perhaps I'll answer through 2 points. I'll answer the question.
Okay, let's hear the question.
Today that
Let's hear the question and then we're
very
gonna
much.
get.
Joona Simonen from Ilta-Sanomat Finland. Question for President Stubb and Mr. Zelensky. Mr. Stubb, you said earlier today that there are now mixed messages and signals coming from the US in support of Ukraine and also defense of Europe as a whole. Mr. Stubb, what do you think that's going to be Finnish role and responsibility for future for European defense? And Mr. Zelensky, do you think or believe that Europe will and should be able to replace US support if needed?
Sure. Perhaps I'll answer through 2 points. I'll answer the question to Vladimir first. I think we need to get our facts right. When you look at support for Ukraine throughout this war, Europe stands, as Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said earlier, at about 134 billion euros, more or less. The United States, roughly around 114 billion. I look around this table and I see NBA, so 5 Nordic countries and 3 Baltic states. We're actually at 26 billion euros, roughly speaking. So that's about a fifth of what Europe has supported. So yes, to a certain extent in the future, we're going to have to take more responsibility, but to get bogged down in who has given more, I think is the wrong tack. The second point I have to make, it's not only about the material support, it's also about having skin in the game or having some kind of a plan. I think Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre put it quite well earlier when he said that we Europeans can't complain our way to the negotiating table. And my worry is that in the past 2 weeks, when we've seen a shift in the transatlantic partnership, and you'll know that I'm an avid transatlanticist, we have to wake up to a new reality. And then the question is, how do we get skin in the game? How do we get involved? I think a good start is what President Costa has done, is to call a European Council, because right now, European diplomacy is rather cacophonic. It's all over the place. That's why I have, together with some colleagues, proposed that we sit down and think about a plan. And in my mind, that plan or sketch goes in 3 phases. The first phase is the pre-negotiation. That's where we are right now. This is when we have to think really hard how we put more pressure on Russia and basically how we support Vladimir and Ukraine and what kind of security arrangements we have. And if I may, just as a side note, I'm getting a little bit frustrated about this debate on boots on the ground, because that sort of misses the whole point. That is that the strongest boots on the ground in the world right now are with Ukraine. They have the land forces. Then it's a question about which phase and how Europe will come to support Ukraine. In the air, in the sea, with reconnaissance, with intelligence, etc., etc. The second phase of the plan is when the ceasefire begins. And that's actually quite crucial, because that's when you start looking at the modalities and the agenda of the actual negotiations. And that's when you start looking at confidence building measures. And then the third phase is the peace process. And that's when you start talking about the big issues of territory, and that's when you start talking basically about recompensation, about justice, which President Zelensky was talking about earlier. So what I'm trying to say is that I think we in Europe, we need to get our act together. And in order to get an act together, you have to have a plan to the Americans, because if you don't have a plan to the Americans, you're not going to get involved in negotiations. And right now, the negotiations are happening above our heads without any kind of a plan and strategy. That's why I think this meeting has been extremely important. And that's why I think that the next 2 weeks are crucial also about the future of European security.
Yes, as you can hear, great. Because he provides a very clear and sensible approach to the things that Europe needs to do, right? Not complain, not cry, not grovel, not make fiery speeches. Start working on the plan. Realize where we are, where Ukraine is. Don't try to do what UK and France are saying, essentially, yeah, we're just going to come in as these peacekeepers into Ukraine, and then we're going to secure peace in Ukraine. It's like, get your facts straight. The armies of Europe suck. They suck. They don't know real combat. They have participated in some missions to support United States, true, but they're shit. Ukraine has seen actions. They are the boots on the ground. So when we're talking about what we are doing in Europe, is how are we supporting these boots on the ground? How are we supporting Ukraine in helping Ukraine, providing security for us? So that is the point. That is the main and important point. And I think the fact that he says that we need to be calm, we need to be collected, and we need to propose and push for our vision, push for how we are approaching this. That is golden. And notably, he's a lot much more calm than I am. And I am supposed to be because I am a mad dog already. I already talked about this in a recent stream that we did on the Andrew Mercado's challenge, that I am a mad dog of the internet and support for Ukraine, because everyone else is so calm and collected, and I just cannot take any bullshit. But it doesn't mean that I support only the fiery speeches. What I first and foremost support is good plan, good recollection of facts, and I really appreciate when someone comes out and says we need to do things right, and I have a plan for it. So that's why I say that Alexander Stubb has been pretty great. It wasn't me. Do you think Trump only spoke nicely about Zelensky the other day to lure him into this trap? It's a good question. this is again the same question, saying is like, the Trump is maybe like just smarter than he thinks. No, I don't think he's smarter than he thinks. I think he was really looking at this how do you say, it's like, I don't like Zelensky, but like he's bringing us money, this deal and so on. And because he has like the thinnest skin of a human being alive, then the fact that Zelensky just started calling out his bullshit live on TV just got instantly under his skin, and he just exploded like a premature teenager first time seeing boobs. So no, like Trump, I don't think it was a special kind of secret plan. I think he just is immature. Okay, so Eat4, I'm gonna correct you, and I hope we're gonna get over it really fast. So you say, time to make Europe great again. Bring Ukraine into EU, and for us, like NATO, have Article 5, close the airspace in Ukraine, frozen Russian asset transfer to Ukraine. I agree with all of your points, but do not please use the make Europe great again. Not because of Trump, but because a lot of Europeans do not share that statement, because the make Europe great again relies that we should go back to some time when Europe was great. In Europe, a lot of people feel that this is the time that Europe is great. This is the greatest Europe has ever been, because there wasn't like a time where Europe was like a superpower that dominated the world. Every time we were dominating something, we mostly were dominating each other. Like, Europe is not a continent of peace. Europe is a continent of blood and death and suffering. We have been killing each other for fucking centuries. Like, the biggest heroes of our nations is usually people that have been killing the people of our border nation. That is Europe. That is the Europe that we know. The fact that we now had a Europe where we haven't fought each other for already a significant amount of time, that is the greatest Europe we ever had. It's more about like preservation of Europe. If we go back, like, or someone suggests like that we need to go back to time of empires, a lot of the people in Europe like getting like this kind of nervous flashbacks, getting like, oh, I remember my family was like killed, or I remember like things happening in my country, and then there was like war, and there was the first war, and then there was war beforehand. It's like, we are living in the greatest time in Europe, period. It's just we have certain homework that we need to do to improve our union to not be only good for times of peace, but also be prepared for challenges. I hope that explains it. Matt Hemming, can we talk about countries that will step up? For example, Finland, Poland. A lot of countries came to Zelensky. Like, for example, I was a bit of an asshole that I did disrespected and wrote down Spain, mostly because that Spain, for example, they stated that they will contribute 1 billion euros to Ukraine this year, whereas in the same amount, they're usually buying about 2 billion of resources from the Russian gas and oil. So there is a little bit of the duplicity for that. But I think there has been a lot of the discussion for like, what you do in Europe. And I think we're going to have a lot more of these internal discussions, including like treating Russia not as an adversary, which a lot of the Europeans are still considering Russia as an adversary, but a full-blown enemy and a threat to our literal survival. Remember, if you want to write a question, just write Ukraine Matters, and then it highlights for me. Gert Buchholz, sorry for butchering your name, my friend. Since 3 years, Ukraine sacrificed its warriors' lives for a 24/7 commercial for US weapons producers. Should be priced into deal, don't you think so? This is not even up discussion. Like, this war has been major win for United States. My whole problem with Joe Biden is that it was the easiest war victory in history of war victories. Like, just supply Ukraine with enough weapons and they will kick the Russians out. But because we got so used to in our worldview to get to some kind of like, you know, the half deals, like to never push to a complete victory, to always, you know, stop for this like half thing, find some kind of negotiated solution, which is a good thing, but not when the other party wants to destroy you. And because we had all of that, and we pushed for that, Ukraine just didn't win, and instead we prolonged the suffering, we prolonged the torture of Ukrainians. We paid for this every day of tragedy with Ukrainian life, and essentially the strategy became, let's drown Putin's economy in the blood of Ukrainian civilians and military. And it's an absolutely disgusting strategy. I can never support it. That's why I can never forgive Joe Biden for the fuck up that he did with this approach of Sullivan of let's manage the escalation. And it was absolute dog shit. But now they're able to tap themselves on the shoulder saying that they have prevented the nuclear annihilation of the planet, because obviously they have totally. And I think it's a bit of a joke. But with that said, yes, like, that was a huge win for Americans. And you know what's funny? It still is. That's the funniest thing, because it still is. United States made a shitload of money in this war in Ukraine. Their factories have been working nonstop. They got a shitloads of requests. Their equipment has been shown to be great and incredible. And then Trump right now is basically ruining everything, because yeah, basically what Trump is stating right now, yes, we can produce the best equipment in the world, but if you buy our equipment and we don't like you, and the president of the United States doesn't like you, well, then you're screwed, even if you were an ally. Morocco, Georgis, we are biased towards Ukraine. Do you think the rest of the world will be just as appalled as us about the meeting with Trump today? Listen, we're past the best of the world. Like, you need to understand, like, everyone respects power. We are full past the US world-dominated, Western alliance-dominated world. Trump has done it. Like it's done. Like, there is no more Western alliance. Because NATO Article 5 is not automatic. NATO Article 5 basically mean right now is like Trump saying, if I like you, we will support the Article 5. If we don't like you, if you're coming from a shithole country like the Baltics, for example, then we're going to be maybe very concerned about Russia, but you know, we're going to try to make peace with Putin and maybe give away only like part of the Baltics. Maybe we get Lithuania back into NATO, and then, or it's like, imagine Russia occupies the Baltics and part of Poland. Maybe we'll get like part of Poland back to NATO, but the Baltics will go to Russia. So that is the point. You know, the point is the whole collective agreement is built first and foremost on trust. The trust. The promise of collective agreement is built on trust. And what Trump did with his action is he violated that trust. There is no more trust between the Europeans and the United States. There is a lot of like, oh, we're having good friends, like Trump and Starmer are talking about, that we are such a good friends and we're going to support UK. Yeah, but are you going to support the rest of the NATO? So every country in the world right now, every single one of that is either we become a subject of a superpower and then superpower protects us. And when I say subject, I mean subject, because that is the world that Trump is also proposing. It's the same world that Putin is proposing. It's the same world that is, Xi Jinping is proposing. Is you become essentially a subject of the superpower, or you're on your own. So all of the countries on the world stage right now are looking at each other nervously and are like, well, fuck, we're screwed. So either we get weapons and prepare to defend ourselves against anything, and it doesn't mean that we might win, maybe we won't win, or we get a superpower and jump on their big schlong. And Europeans are kind of like, you know, the remnant of the old system, people that are still stuck in their old delusion of the collective defense. For them, now it's the weapon, now it's the moment of choice. Because if we go with the first option, well, then we broke up Europe. then there's Europe goes back to that great quote unquote state where the wars among the Europeans might not be something that a thing of the past, that it might be something that we will experience once again, or we're gonna try to do something on our own and hope that this is gonna be enough. Do you think USA will leave NATO under Trump? No. Why? So far, NATO has been US playbox. Who benefited the most from NATO? Who benefited the most? Can you tell me? I can tell you. It's not a long question to answer. What if US attacks a NATO member? Gord Simpson, great question. What then? Then technically, the collective defense should kick in. NATO should go fight the United States. But will they? Again, it's the question of the collective defense. Peter Larson, are Z people going to do something on Putin? Can Ukraine win something on that? What? Are Z people going to do something on Putin? Can Ukraine win? I don't understand your question. What can they do on Putin? I don't know. Dance? Play chess? What do you want to do on Putin? The only thing I want to do on Putin is dance on his grave. Darvam, can a coalition of European countries with common cause make a European version of NATO? Is it possible? NATO still can be used as a framework, right? Europeans doesn't need to exit NATO. NATO still provides the same framework for cooperation. They don't need to leave it. They don't need to make something else. They just need to start investing in their armies, and they need to consider how the armies can work in a more closer cooperation. Rebel Science, do you think Trump will have trouble from the people and other inside US now? I don't know. I want to believe that there will be trouble, but I feel that not. Like, I've heard a lot of the Russians that escaped Russia and the Soviet Union that are living right now in US. They're stating that what Trump does right now in the United States is eerily familiar with what Putin was doing at the start of his term. So I don't know. Akira NN, the word you want to say is client state. True. Awesome HPT, it turns out America was the main villain after all. Maybe. Like, I don't want to call America, because there is still a lot of people in the United States that are not that. Even if in the Republican Party, despite everything, I know that Republicans still voted for Trump in the elections. I know. They put party before the state. I know all of that. But still, like, if we're talking ideology, there's still. Well, the problem is that a lot of the articles from the media that I read right now says, like, Trump is like having the worst performance of any president. The worst performance of the president, that there is such a huge wave of disapproval of Trump, and I'm like looking at the charts, and I'm not sure what they're talking about, because current polls, and this is 538, they're saying that there is still majority of Americans that are supporting Trump, over 47.7%. And 47% disapprove. So US is deeply divided. And as much as people want to right now paint that there is like a huge divide and huge drop of support for Trump, I don't really see it. He started with about 50% support. Now he's at 47. I don't know. So I don't yet see that there is a huge loss of support for Trump in the United States. Kenneth, US intel shows Russia and China are attempting to recruit the disgruntled federal employees. Yes. They will do even more. They will also recruit the states. There's going to be many European states that are going to be looking for a closer cooperation with China. I can believe me that. Yeah, Turkey shut down a Russian fighter jet and there was no nuclear war. Yes, yes, yes. Because Russia and Putin understands only strength. Only strength. That's the only language he speaks. Axel Mariner, do you have any data that could explain why the value of ruble is back to normal? It's all due to Trump, or is there something else? No, all due to Trump. It's just the confidence in the currency has risen. The same way why Russian stock market is back to its highest peak is truly just because of the positive news coming from United States. And I'm going to guarantee you that after today's events, we're going to see the Russian stock market skyrocketing once again and Russian ruble again strengthening up. Though Russians would really want to weaken their ruble because they're an export-based country, so they really benefit from a weak currency. But it's kind of like potato patata. It depends on what they want right now. Les, so we're back on reference with Spain's civil war. When all countries challenged each other power during the civil war before Hitler started, that becomes World War II. We're not there yet, but we're definitely could be on the chopping block quite soon. Josephine B, USA got 80% of what they invested back immediately. True, yes. Hugo Class, did you see a segment where someone asked Zelensky, why won't you wear a suit? Do you even own one? Yes, yes, yes. This is like complete dog shit. This is like first thing that shows this is a complete setup. It's like, firstly, who the fuck are you to talk to President Zelensky like that? Like, that's the whole perception that I'm talking about, that a lot of the representatives from the Trump's administration, they look at Zelensky and think is like, he's a nobody from nowhere and he's coming from a shithole country, completely missing the point. Like, it goes completely over their head who Zelensky is and what he does. Tosunabe, Trump lost the chance of being globally respected person, a peacemaker. Without Ukraine, he is local player of political party joke material. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. They're going to sign an agreement with Russia now, most likely. They will sign an agreement with Russia, and then Trump is going to non-stop blame Zelensky for being a warmonger and stating that it's Zelensky that doesn't want peace. And Trump is such a great deal maker that they will agree with Putin, and they will just go around stating, no, we signed a deal. It's the President Zelensky that doesn't want to accept this deal. It's all dog shit. It's all garbage. It's all garbage. All right, I think we're out. Let's see if there is some other news. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap up the stream very quickly. I just wanted to break the news for you. I don't want it to be super long. It's actually already an hour and 24 minutes. Okay, a couple of last questions, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. And if there's gonna be additional thing, then I'm gonna cover it in the video tomorrow. India and EU signed free trade agreement. Because this weaken Russia, do you think? By proxy, yes, it's more about strengthening the European Union. It's less about focusing on Russia. MiG-29 says, does Europe have enough resources like steel or oil to step up big in Ukraine, or do we need outer Europe to help, like kind of India, African states, and South American states? Yes. I mean, Canada has a lot of resources. Does it not? So maybe Europe should buy more resources from Canada. Radek Kadratsky, thank you so much for $5. Guys, remember, if you like this stream, if you like what I do, if you like to hear more, if you like to watch tomorrow's video where I'm going to cover more stuff like this, please support the Ukrainian Armed Forces on the pinned link to the donor box where we are supporting the Ukrainian Armed Forces directly for the trucks. Guys, I love you. It's a shit show. Let's stay together through this shit show. I'm going to get you the facts and support the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Slava Ukraini, and I'll see you next time.